Can we talk? So, we've been talking about church hurt, and today I want to talk about the unhealthy church. I remember the first time that I worked at the church, we, as a staff, collectively came together to read a book. I believe the book was titled The Unhealthy Church. And so we would come together to talk about what we've read in the book. I remember a few staff members had shared their take on their readings and what they got from the chapters that we had read. And then it comes around to me, and I just sit there and I just blurt out, "We're unhealthy. We're unhealthy," just like that. And so I began to share reasons why we were unhealthy. We operated from a spirit of fear. There was a spirit of division, there was jealousy, there was insecurities. We just didn't function in a healthy way. But to the external people, based on the outward appearance, we presented very well. We presented well. But people didn't recognize the symptoms that we had internally. And so the ministry was based off of First Kings, when the Queen of Sheba visits Solomon, I believe it was, and everything that she encountered, everything that she had heard, it took her breath away. Therefore, we were the breathtaking ministry, and we were operating in excellence. Now, what you saw was excellent, because that's what we did. We worked very hard. In fact, during my first season, we had a skeleton crew. It was a very, very light team who pulled everything together. At one point in time, there was really just three of us. And I won't name who the three people were, but I know that I sacrificed my time, my talent, and my resources, and that this ministry, not one location, but two locations, was built on the back of my sacrifice, and also with the help of my children. I just want to add that. But we were so unhealthy and dysfunctional that we would say, as the staff began to grow, we had little slogans like, "You got ran over by the bus," "Every day is our last day." We would have staff meetings, and we would call them lemon squeezes, which was supposed to be a time where we could share our truths. We were supposed to be able to share how we felt, how we felt we were being treated, to talk about the work. But in actuality, we had learned very quickly that the truth wasn't accepted without consequences. And then the consequences, it shifted the environment. As staff began to grow, as people begin to come on staff, most operated from a spirit of fear, because they were worried about their jobs. If they messed up, what would be the consequences? Would they lose their jobs? Would they be exempt from working on another project? Would they be talked about? Would they be excluded from, the inner circle? There were a number of things that, people endured while working at the church. And this is why I labeled it unhealthy. And so with the lemon squeezes, many learned that, you can't share your truth because of consequences. While we were being told one thing, actions were very different. And so it became hard. It became difficult for people to, even if they I'm not going to just outright call people liars, but there was a spirit of lying because they were worried about their jobs. And I don't think that anyone should be in an environment where they are so afraid that they're going to lose their jobs based on someone's emotions, based on someone's actions, based on someone else's lies, based on someone's insecurities, based on someone's jealousies, based on someone's deceit, based on someone's inability to hear and accept the truth. So, what we experienced was high turnover. And I can honestly say that when you don't look at the symptoms, it's like if you go to the doctors and you share with your doctor, your symptoms of what's wrong with you, why you're visiting them on that day. It's up to the doctor to get to the root cause of what's causing these symptoms in order to effectively treat your symptoms. But we function in a way that the getting to the root cause of the symptoms of this unhealthy church was not a goal, because when I think about it, in reality, it would have meant eliminating people on the executive team. So, what makes the executive team exempt from, one, being sat down, number two, being terminated, and having food taken off of their tables, like so many had experienced, and while I'm not going to say that every firing wasn't justified, but many of them could have been avoided if we had focused on the root cause of the issue. When you have high turnover and people are saying the same thing, the finger is pointing in the same direction more oftentimes than not, then you have to pause and look at it. At what point is the church going to be okay to raise the standard to say that, one, perhaps the pastor needs a sabbatical, needs to be sat down. Perhaps the spouse needs to be sat down or terminated. Perhaps the children should not work at the church. Perhaps, so at what point do we pause and look at the root cause of the symptoms of, what makes a church unhealthy? And there was just, there was so much that was experienced. And some people, including myself, I felt like my initial hurt came because I was targeted. And I know New Jersey is an employee at will state, but I was targeted because of jealousy, because of insecurities, because of envy from people that I fought for, people that I covered, people I went to war for. And for me to have sacrificed and done what I did, I wasn't expecting to be terminated. But let's be clear, employee at will. So God, in his permissive will, had a greater plan for my termination from the unhealthy church. So when I was fired, it hurt. It hurt like hell. I'm going to be honest with you all, because I had already told you why. But during the 19 months, because I ended up going back to work for the church, because the day that I was fired, the Holy Spirit spoke to me, business administrator. And I thought, oh, well, perhaps I'm not going to be fired, because he had told me I was going to be fired. But in that moment, I thought, maybe not. But when I was fired, in those 19 months, God began to reveal me to me and what I had done and how I operated in that time at working at the church, how in ways that I had conformed. So he needed me removed from the environment. He needed to, one, cause a circumcision to me. I had to be circumcised. He had to show me and how I operated within the confines of this unhealthy church in order to heal me and then send me back. And then he had to test me to see, had I changed? Had I matured? Had I grown up? Will I do the things that I did the first round, or will I stand on what he had shown me, what he had called me to do? Is to be different, to stand on biblical principles and not conform and not be a part of the unhealthy church.